Today, it's Paul and Heather, and we're talking about news. This is CheckPoint.
This is my favorite intro song.
Yeah, oh yeah. It is a good
It's
song.
a really good song.
Yeah. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to CheckPoint, which is also ChillPoint, which is actually more accurately ChillPoint. How's it going,
more
everybody?
More chill than point. More chill than check.
We initially we thought that maybe Beej would be here today, but he is currently busy picking somebody up. So it's just Heather and Paul here. The pH balance, which I like a lot.
I like our team name. It's a good team name.
Yeah, for those of you who have not seen this before, this is ChillPoint, which is very similar to CheckPoint. If you watch CheckPoint, we come in early on Thursday and write a couple of stories that are very well done. We're very well reasoned and crafted for maximum hilarity. And then we go and we record the episode live, and then Heather edits it and we put it online on our YouTube channel. And then afterwards, we talk about the stories we didn't talk about.
We try very hard to min-max those scripts for comedy.
Yeah. And this is the same as that, except we also are talking about the... except we're just talking about the stories we didn't talk about, and because we didn't actually do a normal CheckPoint, it's all of the stories.
We will not be funny at all.
No.
If any hilarity happens, it's all on you.
Yeah, if any hilarity happens, it's
not the funny part.
Not intentional. It's a side effect.
Side effect of taking the chill point.
Yeah, and
serious gaming news for serious gamers.
Serious business. Yeah, if any hilarity happens, that's just a coincidence, due to the state of the news. Which, by the way, I will say before we get into this. The news is still kind of thin on the ground. You know, we talked about this last week, that obviously when you're at the right at the year end, everybody, because all the news are like away on vacation. All the actual blogs and not only the people who are normally reporting the news, like say Kotaku and Polygon and stuff, they're all on vacation. But then also, of course, the people who are creating the news, the video game companies, are also on vacation. So,
well, they're not doing anything funny.
Yes.
They're just doing press releases, which, to be honest, press releases on their own are not that funny.
And then this particular New Year's was very bad because everybody did not only do they fill up the end of the year with year retrospectives, but of course everyone was doing decade retrospectives.
Yes.
And so there was a lot of
retrospectives, double the retrospectives happening at the end.
There's a lot of the best games of the decade or the worst games of the decade, or these are the games that made the decade important, or whatever.
If you're a more generalized media site like Polygon, you know it's not just games. That's also gonna be like TV shows and movies and probably a bunch of other stuff.
Right, exactly.
A whole just section for one decade.
So anyway, it's but things are starting to come out in terms of news.
You specifically, well, maybe not you. The other two who were hosting the CheckPoint show specifically asked that the gaming outlets, places, do not do anything stupid while they were on holidays, and I think maybe you should have told them when you needed the funny news to happen again.
Yeah.
And then maybe you wouldn't have been so light last week.
We probably should have. We probably shouldn't have said that, because then we didn't think that people would actually pay attention to what we were saying and stop doing dumb things.
They do when you don't expect it.
Yeah. Anyway. Today, we're going to talk about video game news, and specifically talking about silly stuff that happened this week. And before we should before I get into it, we should welcome. I saw some people subscribe, although for
Subs.
some reason I didn't hear it, which is confusing me. But anyway,
We might not have that on. No,
no, we've
no,
got
we
that.
got that on.
But anyway, M Logan 2000 subscribed for 16 months in a row. Thank you very much.
Mike Smith 916 for 67 months in a row, just chilling.
Red 2 Wedge for 17 months in a row. Thank you very much.
And Goodnore 33 for 73 months, such chill, so pointy.
Unbound Laconicity. Sure.
It's unbound.
For 71 months. I wonder if I have done that like every time you have subscribed in the last 71 months.
I wonder that every time I repeat it too.
Hey, that worked.
Oh, Croc 5 for 23 months, welcome back.
Lucian0451 for 18 months. Thank you very much.
Anti-Crepuscular for 31 months, chill 0.
And Nova Tiempo for 20 months says Prime Gifts. It's a little loud,
I'm
yeah.
gonna turn it down a little bit. I'm glad to hear them pop up, but it's startling. The Little Red Dragon for 25 months. Aw.
And Wooly Nelson for 29 months says best chill point of 2020. That is true. Nobody can dispute that fact.
I guess this is the first one, isn't it?
All right,
Forgetting we're in January.
let's get going with. Actually, should we actually start with Pokemon news? Because there's a lot of Pokemon news.
Well, they had a direct at like 6:30 a.m. this morning for our time.
Unnecessarily early.
They keep putting
Nintendo
the
Direct.
Pokemon's ones at like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't get up for them. I watch them later.
So yeah.
But yeah, we can talk about that.
Sure. So let's. You're probably more up on the Pokemon news.
I took notes,
Ooh.
but let's just because I'm weird like that. I do that with every Nintendo Direct.
The big thing was expansions, right?
Yeah, that was the majority of the Direct. So they started off the Direct, and then guys like, okay, there's 2 parts to this Direct. I will tell you, part 1, Mystery Dungeon is coming. It's basically it looks like a remake of the original. Now it's on Switch. And I'm like, okay, cool. Part 1's gonna be a bunch of little things, and they're like, cool. Now time for part 2, the rest of the show. Like, oh,
They
all
really
right.
backloaded it.
Well, I expected them to tell us about Pokemon Home, which they didn't. They just said it was coming out next month, and more details would happen. That they would tell us about Pokemon Sleep, because they told us that existed, but they didn't tell us anything about that. And then I expected maybe some news about Detective Pikachu 2, which is a thing they brought up last year and have given no details about.
As a game or a movie?
Game.
Ah.
They said that there was a sequel coming,
Yay.
and
I
was
think
like, huh.
yay. Do we like the game? I
I'm
liked
hoping it's better.
I liked the movie,
The game is
but
meant for people who are much younger than me. You can tell
okay.
in terms of its pacing, but yeah. The bigger thing was actually expansions. So the expansion pass, the Pokemon Sword expansion pass, and the Pokemon Shield expansion pass, because we have to say the full product name. Because they
And
do.
Is there a Pokemon Sword / Shield expansion pass, or you have to buy them separately?
You buy it depending on the game you've got.
Right.
You buy them separately. They're like $30 American per pass. You get both parts of the pass, which is like one's called the Isle of Armor, the other one's called the Crown Tundra, and you're gonna get both parts, but the differentiation of like what game you have it in is the same thing as every Pokemon game. It's like the Pokemon will be different.
Oh, okay.
And I think you run into a different gym leader or something in the first one.
So the Pokemon in the
Character.
so there'll be the Pokemon in the expansion will also be different.
Yeah.
And it's 200 new Pokemon?
200 new Pokemon total for across both expansions. So I went onto their website and took a look, and the first expansion is like there's going to be 100 Pokemon they add then, and the second expansion there'll be like another 100 Pokemon. And these aren't like brand new Pokemon. There's like a few brand new Pokemon, and then 100 Pokemon that will get added to the decks. So that
a lot of these are previous.
Yeah.
Right.
Or in some of them are like they're adding in a Galarian Slowpoke. And your starters get Gigamax, Gigantic Max. They get big.
So this is sort of bringing up some. So some of this is just bringing the Pokemon that they
Didn't end up
notably
bringing in
excluded
first, yeah.
from the new one back into the new one.
The nice thing is that if you buy the expansion or not, they're doing some updates, and if you do the update but you don't buy the expansion when that expansion comes out, you can get those Pokemon into your game through trading. You won't
Okay.
be able to run into them in your game, but the game will let you put them in there. So that's at least
And
something.
and also, I assume so. So the idea with the expansion is it adds this whole new region.
Yeah, well, not a region is always kind of how they define the whole area of the game,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's like maybe a city
A
or
new
a
city.
little
Okay.
town area.
A new area.
And one is very cold, and has like a den or something where you can run into a whole bunch of legendary Pokemon. And they said it was a new co-op thing, which doesn't help me because I don't play enough co-op games. And the other one is not cold.
So as we were talking about before this, so of course if you're somebody who has both Sword and Shield because you're completionist type and want to catch them all,
Then you're probably buying both expansions.
you now have to buy both expansions in order to continue. Is there 200 different Pokemon, or is it just like a couple different ones like they usually do?
I think between the expansions, there's probably just going to be a few different ones between the thing, like usual, like maybe 10, maybe 15. The weirder part was the fact that they brought up the legendary. I didn't write down the legendary's name. I didn't make that many notes. For the first part that you would end up getting to train with at this dojo place, and then they talked about bringing it to the competition with you when online competitions happened, and I was always under the impression that legendaries were always banned from competitions. So that's actually kind of weird that they're like, hey, here's a legendary that like you will get from doing this thing, and now bring it to the competition with you.
Interesting. So what what I find kind of interesting about this is that, like, especially in the first couple of iterations of Pokemon, like the difference between the different generations of Pokemon were basically adding new Pokemon. Like it was, the difference between when you upgraded from like whatever red and blue to
Yellow.
or red and blue to like the next generation
Oh, okay, yeah.
to whatever
Silver and gold.
silver and gold, they would use the same engine and everything in the game, and it was just like, hey, here's a new area with a ton of more Pokemon. Like that was sort of the impetus for making a new whole game, and now they're at the point where they're just like, we can just add more Pokemon to the previous game and it's just as good.
I mean, the expansion passes are essentially like the third game, or the I guess you would call them sequel games, like the Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, Black and White 2, where, but like this feels much more like the third game option, where it's like, Yellow was the third original. I can't remember them all. It was something like, I think Emerald was for Diamond and Pearl, but it's like they always brought out a third iteration. It's the same game. It's maybe got some quality of life improvements, but there's like also another legendary and a few more Pokemon, and then there's also Pokemon in there that you can't catch. You had to get through one of the other games, so it's not fully a meld. But now you still have to play through the whole game again. And by doing it as an expansion instead, it's like, well, I don't have to play through that part of the game. I've already done that. I'm going to move on to the new section right away, which is neat.
Yeah, that's fair. And in other Pokemon news that wasn't announced at this thing, if there aren't enough Pokemon already, if you're like, these 200 new Pokemon, they don't do it for me, you're in luck. Because various hacker type people have also started adding or adapting Pokemon within the game. So, for instance, if you want to have the ball guy, like as in Pokemon Ball guy, as your Pokemon to fight with, you can. Somebody's made a mod to have Ball Guy. Wait, can I? Let me full.
Right, yeah, you'd have to. There we go. Yeah, so.
Oh, they mapped him onto Machoke because it's mostly a human shaped.
Yeah.
And yeah, there you go. That's not creepy at all.
Do you know who Ball Guy is?
He's just like a guy who's like wandering around
He's like the
in the
mascot,
town,
I think, of the gym.
and people are highly suspicious of him. But so far, he hasn't done anything. Is that the general, like he hasn't done anything? He seems to be nice, but he's just weird and creepy.
He's just like a sports mascot. I mean, they've even got like the mascot mesh where the mouth is. That's clearly where the person could probably see through on the design. But it's like every time I see him standing outside a gym, like, wow, he looks weird. That's well, okay, cool. I don't know how I feel about capturing him in a Pokeball and then forcing him to fight.
Because that's like, putting a person in a Pokeball.
Yeah, which I mean...
Which I guess, I don't know, has it ever been established whether that's something that can actually happen?
I've never seen it happen in the anime, but I've only seen very small amounts of the anime. Chat, do you have insight into if humans can get into Pokeballs?
Also...
That's probably someone's fetish in the universe.
You know what? If you want if you want, for example, I'm just throwing this out there, if you want the freaky moon from Zelda Majora's Mask as your Pokemon, well, guess what? You could do that too.
And this one's mapped onto Ghastly.
Yeah. Check that out.
So when I saw the headline for this title, I was actually really disappointed at the result because I wanted the moon to be in the sky in the wild area, just staring down at you in the creepy fashion that happens within the game it comes from.
Has somebody done a mod of the Breath of the Wild to replace like the moon in Breath of the Wild with that moon?
Oh, I mean,
because like the moon in Breath of the Wild is like kind of big and creepy anyway because it's got like the red moon thing. Yeah. Anyway,
I can imagine someone might have. I've never looked it up, but I could see it. There's definitely been heavy mods done to that game. I think on the Wii U version more than the Switch because I think the Wii U's a little more hackable.
So yeah, if you want really creepy, spooky moon in your Pokemon, you can do that too.
Yep.
Because apparently it's not that hard to mod these things. So yeah, that's cool. And due to so there's a YouTube channel, user Dr. Lava, who you may be familiar with, who has done a bunch of work data mining Pokemon stuff, either from the actual like data mining the games or collecting information from interviews and all sorts of different places about about sort of rejected Pokemon or Pokemon that haven't made it into the games. And so my favorite one, so you can see this was just an article on Kotaku was talking about some of his notable finds, including this different Blastoise evolution. This freaky guy, Crocky. Yeah, Crocky.
I like him better not as a pixel art, especially that black and white one. That's creepy. That's the thing that comes through your TV and bites your face off.
I feel like Crocky is closely related to was it Gritty? The mascot?
Yes. Okay, yeah. Him and Gritty are friends. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I also liked so this was a concept for Sirfetch'd, a concept for an evolution of Farfetch'd,
which
before for Sirfetch'd. So Surfetch, Farfetch'd is a duck with a leak.
Yeah.
And then Surfetch, he turns into like a knight. And that's from the new set, the new Sword and
that's
Shield.
Sword, I think.
But they had this idea that it was going to be Surfetch or Farfetch was going to turn into Madam, who is like a duck with a giant wing as like a fan.
It's almost, it's kind of very...
Is it trying to do like a fan dance?
Very theater with the mask. Kind of almost like a opera,
And
I
then,
want to say.
and then also just has a leak for no reason.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, maybe Surfetched and Madam had to fight it out, and
Yeah.
Madam lost.
Or maybe there's still Madam Farfetch'd is out there somewhere.
Yeah,
We
I
just
think-
haven't discovered them yet.
I really feel like that leak is trying to kind of maybe look like a microphone. Like I just
Oh, is that
it
what
very it has a very theater vibe to it.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if this was trying to evoke that. We do have, I think there is a swan-like Pokemon that they might have ended up making a little bit more close to this. Not exactly like that, clearly, but
I love stories about like rejected Pokemon because the implication that there are rejected Pokemon, as in like like when you look at some Pokemon that made it in, and how many Pokemon there are, it's amazing to think that they didn't use some ideas that like. Because sometimes it seems like they're really scraping the bottle
right,
of the
okay,
idea
okay, I
barrel
see
on the
where you're going.
Pokemon. So you think that if they had ideas in their back pocket that they weren't using, they would have thrown those up right away before they went to like the ice cream Pokemons or the Pokemon that
well, those were the ones that made it in.
the Pokemon that's just a Pokeball but with the two colors reversed.
Yeah. I don't know. For some reason, when you were saying that, I was picturing Professor Oak be like, "Okay, find all the Pokemon,
Or the Pokemon,
not those ones."
or the Pokemon that's just a literal pile of trash.
Hey, I named my Trubbish Anime, and it's one of my favorite Pokemon right now.
I see, because it's a pile of trash. I like it.
I love my trash anime.
All right. Other news that isn't Pokemon related, because some non-Pokemon things have happened.
Non-Pokemon has happened.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Let's talk about Fallout 76. And this is not about a bug in Fallout 76. So
No.
that's new.
This
That's
is about
news.
players
Maybe-
making their own content.
So there's been a trend, shall we say, in making traps or trap camps in Fallout 76, because of course you can make camps and you can do all sorts of stuff, and so people will make camps that are like oh, here's looks like a camp, you can come and get some cool stuff, surprise, it's full of death claws. And then you get killed. But
I mean, they're called Death Claws, not the claws of fun and happiness.
a user by the name of Corindabar has come up with this great idea. Instead of just making it a trap, they've actually basically made it like a Saw style thing where it's like, do you want to play a game? So one of the things they've done is they've made this place that you go into and it looks like a schoolroom.
Yep.
And it says final exam today or math homework
done.
due today.
Yeah.
Written on the blackboard, and then there's a room that says like tutoring room, and if you go inside, the door locks behind you, and there's a like a keypad on the door, and there's a sign that says open door to live, and then there's like a math problem.
Yeah.
A simple math problem.
Which is the code to get out.
Yeah, which is the code to get out, and it's a real simple math problem. However, people get slightly distracted in the course of attempting to solve this fairly simple math problem because flamethrowers then turn on.
Yeah. So it's a very
Sorry to bug you. The reader's not working.
Oh,
I can continue.
all right.
Sorry.
It's a very simple math equation, but now you're on fire. So, math gets a lot harder when you're busy realizing you're on fire, which is part of the point. It's meant to be kind of a timer. The article itself says how, I think that's the wrong mouse. The Corndabar presses a switch to activate the flamethrowers lining the room, and there's a thing called a bloat fly, which also prevents you from fast traveling out. So the only way to actually escape this room is to put in the 4-digit number on the door keypad. But you're distracted by fire, which I don't play Fallout 76, but apparently won't kill you right away. It will kill you eventually. Now, the person who has done this apparently isn't in it for the griefing. So if a player dies in his classroom, he does wait for them to come back, lets them grab their stuff, and lets them... the door still locks behind them. They still have to get out, but they won't turn the flamethrowers on for the second time. So that's nice of them. It's good to know they're not griefing. IRL fire doesn't kill immediately either. No, but it's a video game. Video game logic. I was just telling the chat how this person's not in it for the griefs.
Yeah, it's just just for fun.
Yeah.
Remember
going to math class and them turning on the flamethrowers and then being like, don't worry, when you come back, we won't turn the flamethrowers on the second time because now you understand you should do your math homework?
Yeah. I mean, like, remember how the Jigsaw in the Saw movies was just doing it in order to encourage people to do self-improvement? That's basically the equivalent.
I didn't see the movie, but I'm going to assume that's a lie.
Yeah, I feel like that aspect of the movies was...
What was it cut out? Was that the director's cut?
No, that was ostensibly the plan. It's just, I feel like
it didn't work
he
out
didn't
for
he
him.
didn't really go about it the correct way.
You mean the Saw movie? I don't know. The Saw trilogy, contingency, series, franchise. There's 2, 3? I don't watch horror movies.
So, in other Fallout 76 news,
There's 8? What?
uh,
A lot, Paul.
but these are in a much more wholesome Fallout 76 news. So this is actually pretty amazing. So there's lots of player created stuff in Fallout 76, like traps and things. There's also this concept of there's a group called the Couriers, or a group of players that have got together who call themselves the Couriers, and
Okay.
they actually act as sort of a positive thing within the Fallout environment, where they help people out with, for one thing, with doing certain types of transactions that require so much money that it's hard to actually hold that much money on your character. And so you have to dump a bunch of stuff in order to actually hold that much money.
It's very important to me. Is it because the money, you only have a limit on money, or is it because the money has weight?
The money is weight.
Really?
They're bottle caps, yeah.
I've played many different video games that just do not.
Fallout is trying
It's
to be
weird.
realistic in weird ways. There's certain transactions that people want to do in Fallout, and it's difficult to do them because you can't physically carry enough stuff. So there's these groups that are called Couriers, who have they basically act as escrow. Hey,
Hey, you made it!
it's a beach.
I did.
And they're actually and they there's a bit of a vetting process in terms of, not just anybody can, they make sure that you're not going to
Is there a
steal
test?
stuff. I don't know if there's a test.
Become part of the crew.
Possibly a math test where you get flamethrowered if you don't do it. But anyway, there's a bit of a vetting process and things to make sure that you're not going to be just stealing people's stuff. So theoretically, they're fairly trustworthy. Anyway, they do all sorts of positive things for the community, which is awesome. But somebody had, or one of the a person who's courier by the name of Kat Pender has started offering another service, which is adoptions. This is I just saw this story this morning, and it's amazing. So you can there's all sorts of animals in the Fallout universe, and they're almost all hostile automatically.
Yes, that
'cause
sounds like
they're
real
monsters
life.
and
Yes.
things. But you can get a perk which allows you to tame animals.
Okay.
It's quite difficult. You have to be like level 30, and you have to get a couple of things, and the chances of it actually succeeding is fairly low. Blah blah blah. But you can do it where you
Okay.
can tame animals. And so this person has started going around and working on taming animals, and then they've basically started this adoption agency, which so they've set up a place, and then they like if they tame like you can tame animals like dogs and cats and different things like that, but you could also tame like a death claw or a various things like that. And what you do is they go into the wasteland, they find the creatures, and then they have a headquarters where they bring the creatures back to. They post an announcement on the Facebook group being like, "Hey,
Oh,
we
yeah.
have
For adoption.
there's like a
Yeah,
death claw
yeah.
here up for adoption. Look,
God.
he's adorable."
Do they list it as like that? It's like this is so and so, and he's kind of rambunctious. Like,
I hope so.
Is this-
And then-
are these
and
the
then- and
pictures
then
they
people
use? These are
can-
great.
And then people can sort of apply for the adopting, and then then they'll hold the animal for you while you come and pick it up.
My only regret is they have to use Facebook for this.
Yeah.
more like cat vendor.
Yes, people, rescuers want to ensure that the animal is appreciated and cared for. You have to provide your adopted animal with a safe and loving environment with plenty of room to roam. You have to take stock of the animal's temperament. Scorched creatures, for instance, are known to attack some players' resources even after they've been tamed. So potential players have to do the research. So yes,
yeah.
they can
Okay.
be rambunctious on occasion, and randomly attack you. Death claws are apparently the most popular option. But
Say why?
because they're big and dinosaur-like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it seems fair. Yeah. All right.
Please remember the level of time, patience, and dedication it takes to do what we do every day. We want to match you with your dream pet, but sometimes we come across many others along the way. Because there's several unclaimed animals, right? So if you're in Fallout 76 and you want to have a pet, maybe it's just like when you go to the if you go to like the shelter, sure, everybody wants like the golden retriever puppy, but maybe you look and see what other animals. Maybe
Yeah,
there's an animal
yeah.
there that just needs a good home.
Also, don't get your Fallout partners an adopted animal for Christmas.
Just as like a,
That's unfair to them.
Yeah, it's like it's not, as Andy Crepuscular says, a death claw is not just for Christmas.
Exactly. You're gonna have to care for it.
Can I dress them up in cute outfits?
I don't know.
I feel like if Fallout's paying attention, they should let me dress up my pets with cute outfits.
Yeah, you know what, Fallout? That's like, I feel like that will be a legit deal, like microtransact. Like people would probably be totally fine with that as a microtransaction. Like animal outfits
Yeah.
seems like the most compatible with microtransactions
If
thing.
you can tame a pet, clearly you probably dress it up.
All right, what else we got
Well,
going
I
on
mean,
here?
that's the best story
Yeah,
of the day. Nothing
exactly.
be
You could
better
get
than
you
that.
could get some little like horse armor for it, or the
I don't know.
death claw armor.
Yeah, I don't think horse armor fits.
I don't know if
all.
horses are actually in Fallout.
I don't think horse armor is one size fits all. Either.
All right, other things. The Xbox has announced that Sea of Thieves has just reached 10 million players or that's not concurrent. That's like downloads or people
Right.
who have tried it. Which calls it which apparently makes it the most successful new IP of this generation.
That's a lot of qualifiers.
And also, from my general perception of the, like, I don't play Sea of Thieves and stuff, but my general perception of the industry is that Sea of Thieves has been kind of like middling popularity.
Okay.
But I think that basically what that indicates is that there are very few new IPs in this generation.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Like, I'm actually trying to think, like, Apex Legends, I
Yeah.
guess, is another, like, relatively large new
Definitely
IP.
a few new IP that have not done so hot.
So let's qualify this. So Sea of Thieves is it's a multi-platform game, right? Is it? Because I believe it is.
Yes.
I've seen people playing it on PC.
Well, because it's PC and Xbox
Yeah.
cross-platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but to Xbox for the Xbox One generation, and not because this never came out on the Xbox 360.
No.
So they're saying that this is their most successful new IP for the Xbox One because it's reached 10 million people who have at least tried it. And that's the qualification it has, because it's like, I bet
Well-
you more people have played Madden or more people have played like.
Yes. Also, that 10 million is kind of boosted by the fact that this was a
It's an early Xbox Game Pass.
this was a
title,
Game
yeah.
Pass title,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
a ton of people got it for free.
Because they're like,
Which
I
means
just
So
wanna
people
try it.
a lot of people probably tried it and maybe didn't stick with it. I know. By the way, I know that actually, there was a fair amount of criticism of Sea of Thieves early in the, like, when it first came out, just because it was kind of not a lot to do.
Yeah.
From what I understand, it's one of these games that they've actually added quite a lot to over the time, and it's actually gotten pretty good. But
I mean, I've seen some people still play it and look like they're having fun with it. They don't. The people I know who play it don't go back to it like all the time, but occasionally they do go back to it. So there must be something there. Out there, like treasure, water,
sure.
pirates. I just Sea of Thieves.
It seems like a good, like a solid concept for a game.
Yeah.
You know, pirates. They're fun.
Yeah, let's all be pirates.
Yeah.
I like Koyo 7's pun of Sea of Zeds more like. It's good.
Sea of Z's. Yes.
Yeah. I want to call it that way too.
I like
It
that.
makes,
Yeah.
makes more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, part of my Canadianism is like, no, but
really-
it works better for the.
Really enjoying deconstructing other people's jokes. Anyway.
So, this is okay. The Star Citizen, the game that just keeps on giving to itself.
Is it out? Or is it just like I never under? No, seriously. Every time you guys do a story on this game, I'm like, is that out or
That's-
is it
I'm the
not?
same
I'm so
way.
confused by
I'm the
this.
same
by
way.
this
That's
thing
that's.
every
I mean,
single
that's
time.
that's the joke, right? It's out in a form.
Okay.
In the sense of over the last couple of years there have been various various like beta alpha
yeah. No, I know that.
progress releases.
Yeah. Which one is it on?
It's in progress. They keep releasing new stuff.
Okay.
The general, I mean, the whole joke. It's an early access thing, and they keep adding new things. They keep adding stuff to it, and also the scope keeps also getting bigger too.
Okay.
So, and
game is
the
never
part
coming out.
part of
This
part of
is
the
the
joke
real
about
thing.
it is that yeah, the scope keeps getting bigger to the extent where nobody knows when or if it will ever come out.
Okay.
To that end, Crytek was in the process of suing them because a
Breach of contract.
breach of contract because Star Citizen was originally being developed using CryEngine.
Yeah.
And then they also started making a different game called Squadron 42, which
Okay.
was supposed to be like a an additional part of the Star Citizen game.
Except that it is standalone.
It is standalone.
Yeah, so they were making a game using an engine. They didn't actually license the engine for that game.
Okay.
Even though it was supposed to be part of the original game.
Yeah, it was. Anyway, they went back and forth on this lawsuit for a while. This was back in 2017 is when they first did it, and now Crytek is like, you know what? We're going to stop suing you. For the moment,
Yeah.
we're going to attempt to get our own lawsuit dismissed, but without prejudice, which means that they can resubmit it.
Okay.
We want to get our own lawsuit dismissed until such time as you actually come out with Squadron 40, because it's like we realized that you guys haven't come out with the game that we're suing you about yet, and that makes this a difficult thing to prove because you don't have a game for us to sue you about. So we're gonna wait until you guys make the game, and then we're gonna sue you about it.
And it's funny because it would mean that a judge who would be hearing this, would be saying, so you're suing them because they've made a game using your property and they didn't license it. That's right. Okay, well, where is this game? How much money has it made? Well, it's not out yet. Okay, so they're in the middle of making the game. Well, kinda.
Yeah.
So there's no actual product, so is there any actual infringement? It's like, we don't know if it's ever actually going to come out and get sold, so we don't even know if they're actually going to make it. And then the judge, the judge could actually just be like, you know what? Then they're not in contravention of anything, or the judge could throw it out. And at this point, I'm sure Crytek is like, we're just sick of paying our lawyers to spin their wheels because Star Citizen is spinning their wheels.
And so, yeah. And I think the part of the idea is that the progress, where the game is in development, became clear through the process of discovery in the lawsuit. So anyway, I don't know that much about legal stuff, but I find it just kind of funny, people getting their own, being like, okay, we're not going to sue you, but until you come up with the thing, and then we're totally going to sue you.
Yeah, so wait for that.
Yeah.
I thought suing you would be a lot easier than it has been, so we're going to wait till it's easier.
Yeah. So I feel like if you're waiting for Squadron 42 to come out, then maybe that's not good. Like, if you were, I feel like if nothing else, Star Citizen is going to be like, Squadron 42 isn't coming out anymore. Also, here's a completely different game that we've been working on called Squadron 43.
I mean, they could also end up baking whatever that is into Star Citizen totally, and then actually
from what I understand, is the idea is it's sort of like Squadron 42 is like a first-person shooter thing that you would go into from Star Citizen, which is part of this whole Star Citizen is every game has the biggest scope of any game ever made.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Speaking of potential lawsuits,
oh yeah,
because I would be surprised if this did not try to get one if they bring this out.
This is a thing at the Content Electronics Expo.
They haven't renamed it, have they? No, that's just.
What's the S stand
for?
That's
what is it? It's the Concept Electronics Show. John Gruber has renamed it because he's decided that nobody's actually showing off any real product. They're just
no
showing
actual
off
consumer
concepts.
things. Yeah. So the Dell has did this new concept UFO, which, by the way, putting concept in the name of your concept thing makes it sound dumb.
I think that's just so that they can be like, it's a concept, please don't sue.
Yeah, it's not a thing that's actually coming out yet. We just wanted to show that we could also make a Switch if we wanted to.
Yeah. Now, that being said, I have seen many people look at this and be like, okay, yes, it looks like a Switch. Mm-hmm. I really want a Switch that can play PC games.
Mm-hmm.
I feel you.
Have you seen the knockoff Switch? Because there is one.
There is just like a...
Smitch?
Yeah, Smitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, they flipped the W in the Switch.
Nintia Smitch.
It looks really awful.
But anyway, so the problem, of course, is that the Switch operates under very, the Switch is known to be a fairly kind of underpowered system in comparison to an Xbox One and a
Sure. Yeah.
and a
PS4.
and a PS4, which is fine because that's how it was designed, and the games are designed to do that. And an Xbox One and PS4 are on par. I mean, are kind of low powered in terms of
Compared to PC.
of current level PCs.
Yes.
So theoretically, if this thing is going to have any kind of ability to do stuff, it's going to be either very expensive or have no battery life
Yeah.
or be
Very restricted.
Well, and
power.
very
I read
restrictive.
I read the article, and he said that for the few minutes he played, it got very warm, which is
Understandable.
understandable.
That's my.
It's also
favorite.
big.
Yeah.
It's,
Like
yeah,
it's like a 10-inch screen, I
It's
think.
bigger, but they wouldn't give him the dimensions, so he can't confirm or something.
I mean, you can look at it.
I do think that the kickstand.
This is so.
Well, the trick is it's so big that that the controllers, like, it ends up being kind of like you can still disconnect. I feel like the
Yeah.
disconnecting and because of course people have made handheld PC things
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
I feel like the disconnecting controllers that sort of reconnect to each other is probably like the smoking gun in terms of being too close to a
Yeah.
Wii or too close to a Switch.
I mean, there was when the Switch first came out, there was a company that made a thing that wasn't like controllers that disconnected. They were kind of like a framework that you could put a tablet in,
Yeah.
and they tried to sue Nintendo for the Switch, and that did not go in their favor at the time. But
Yeah.
this clearly like
These are rail mounted. Like they're just
these
like
clearly go into
they slide into a
a
central
thing
piece.
just like the Switch does. It's the button placement is very much the same.
I mean, it kind of has to be. Like, let's be fair. Like, you kind of have to, especially because this is probably not seen as a two-player device. This is probably seen as you're a single player playing this thing. You're not handing one of these off to a friend for them to play with you,
Right.
because one of them has a D-pad on it, right? But yeah, straight up the idea of we made this thing. It's like you ripped off this idea wholesale. You've done nothing new except just put a PC operating system on it that can run all of your games. So there you go.
I like the disclaimer that they're not promising that this concept will come to market, and I'm like, yeah, because that will be where your troubles start, and you probably know that.
Now, something that could be, and maybe this might even already exist, but because there was already NVIDIA has made like a little a sort of handheld device that connects. It doesn't actually like connects to your PC and does it wireless. Like so the gaming isn't actually happening on the device.
Yeah.
And now that Steam has stuff like that too, right? Like you can get an iPad app where you can run Steam games on your iPad.
Yeah.
Which I've done and seems cool until you're like, wait, of course none of these apps actually have touch controls. This doesn't actually work.
Yeah.
But, I think people have been working on things that like add controllers to iPads or iPhones or different things like that. So you can see there's a version of this that could work with the like wireless connection to your PC.
Absolutely.
So the actual processing isn't being done on the device.
I do like the fact that Tiber's like, so it's basically a Wii U, and it's like you could think of it that way, like, or that could be a way to make a thing where it's like you have a gamepad that has your controls on the outside of it and a screen in the middle, and then if it wirelessly connects like that, you are essentially making a Wii U gamepad that is PC compatible. And that's fine. They proved that you can play video games on a Wii U gamepad, and it's actually workable. Like it's fast enough.
What's the point of playing PC games without a mouse and keyboard? A lot of PC games these days are also work with controllers. We're not, we're talking games other than like first-person shooters and stuff.
Yeah, there are only first-person shooters on the PC. No one's ever played Stardew Valley on a PC.
Boop, boop, boop. Oh yeah. Want to see the PlayStation 5 logo?
Yeah.
Did you not see
you're
that
already on the
coming?
screen. You're already on the screen.
Oh, I'm already on
Yeah.
the screen.
I like.
Who
okay,
didn't see that coming?
I mean, when I look at it, I'm like, well, yeah, okay. I think the reason people are mocking it though is more because they did a big.
They did a big like reveal of it.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh yeah, cool. The PS5, yeah, that's a cool thing that you're going to be announcing. So
Yeah.
so where's the cool new logo?
If the 5 was in Courier, then everyone can get really excited, right? It'd be
it's
like,
like-
oh, it's in a weird typeface.
If they had been like, okay, we're showing you the logo, but also this is what it'll look like, because we still don't know what this one looks like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is although I feel like this is connected to the brand of, as we've talked about before. We really appreciate PlayStation or Sony calling it the PS5, right? Rather than calling it, new PlayStation or PlayStation 3x5 double
Yeah.
digits, whatever you want to call it, Super PlayStation, whatever you want to call it.
What if they called it the PS1?
Yeah.
if they went
They're
back
just
to
calling it
the
the PS.
PlayStation?
They're calling it the PS5. The logo is just the PS4 logo with a 5 instead. It's just the PlayStation, but more. The next one.
The
But
moment they
we
make
have to
5,
make fun of it.
Yeah.
If we don't, then how will you not know where your cat is? Or I watched this video, which is actually just somebody deleting the 4 and putting on a 5.
Or I like the. I've got the goods on the next logos.
Yeah.
for the upcoming PlayStation products.
Yeah, I probably, unless they decide not to call it the 6. Or maybe they don't make consoles anymore by that point.
So anyway, silly things, but yeah, you know what? I'm down for it. Apparently they're like, yeah, wait, we found the perfect logo. There's no reason to change. I mean, the same way as like they haven't sort of largely changed the DualShock controller. They've added like the little touchpad thing to it, but fundamentally it's the same controller because it's a really good controller and everyone likes it. And they're like, don't mess with it too much.
What will the DualShock 5 look like?
Probably pretty similar.
Right?
Probably pretty
Although
similar.
they're supposed to, one of the things they have revealed about, I think, the PS5 was that it was supposed to have sensitive triggers or something, like the
Fully analog triggers?
no, like they're like if you're like pulling a crossbow, you have to give it enough pressure to pull the crossbow, kind of thing.
Whoa, force feedback triggers?
They've had analog triggers for a while.
Yeah.
Force feedback on the triggers would be interesting.
Yeah, I believe that's the thing I've heard people bring up, because some people were concerned about if you have like arthritis but you play video games, will this be a feature we can turn off if we have a hard time physically playing with that as an accessibility issue. And so in that case, they would have to at least make some improvement upon the controller
Right.
to incorporate that.
I could
Though I
see
doubt the
I could see
designs
some
would
sort
be
of like haptic trigger feedback would be interesting. I don't know if any other console does that at the moment.
The Switch has HD rumble.
Right.
Yeah, which is actually pretty interesting when it's used.
Yeah, there's I mean,
But it's not button by button, right? Like you don't
and it's not actually like it's rumble, but it's not like things are more difficult to
Yeah.
push or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, Switch doesn't really have triggers, does it?
It's got like your Z1,
mean-
Z2.
But
Oh,
it
yeah,
doesn't-
that's true.
but it doesn't have like that's not depressible in a way that it's
Like it's just
not,
a button,
It's
right?
not fully
Yeah.
analog, yeah. It's either on or it's off, is my understanding.
So yeah. Anyway, interesting stuff there. Poop.
Yeah, tiny houses.
Yeah, Sims. The Sims is getting teeny tiny houses.
It's definitely capturing the the evolving
The
we can't afford to buy big fucking houses.
yeah. Now not only
Yeah.
not even your sim, not even like your fantasy
Fantasies.
sim world can have a large house.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the Sims just new millennial Sims can't afford big houses anymore. You know?
So is it that they're adding tiny houses, or is it that they're adding tiny stuff, like things that you can?
So the two things that they're adding a new thing called a tiny or a building lot can be turned into a tiny home residential lot,
Yeah.
which limits the size of the house.
Yeah, it puts in the restrictions, so you're not self-limiting. There's a hard limit there.
But then they're also adding in some new stuff to make that more practical, like Murphy beds, and because of the way the tile system works. I remember like back when I was a kid doing this on like the thing where you're like, I want to make my house in Sims, and you're like, I can't fit the things that are in my house in this thing because stuff has to take up one tile and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're adding like Murphy beds, and they're adding the houses have to be 100 tiles, which I don't have a conception of how big that is. But...
Did you watch the video of them like showing off the thing? Because I feel like the reason they talk about Murphy beds is because they do showcase them a lot in the little ad. Because I was like, oh, cool, Murphy beds are kind of neat, sure. And the entire ad is like, yeah, look, I brought down this Murphy bed. Isn't that cool? I'm like, yeah, that's kind of neat. And then later they're like, and now the Murphy bed has fallen on me because I struggled with it. And now I'm sleeping in the Murphy bed, but suddenly it springs up. And I'm like, that's
not how those work.
That's dangerous. Now I have fears about Murphy beds. Thanks, game.
So they largely they put in Murphy beds and also ways to kill your Sims with Murphy beds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone would probably have been angry if you couldn't find a way to kill your sim with the new stuff that you added.
That's true.
I love something that transforms into something else. Like, I love transformable furniture. I think that's fantastic. When you live in a small place, having like, I've always loved the idea of even just a bunk bed that underneath it has like your desk, like that kind of thing, where it's like, I'm going to use all the space in my room. So this is really appealing to me. The idea of like, we have a bookcase that turns into a bed, and we have like,
it's just sort of like a fundamental thing in a lot of the Sims or whatever, right? We have sort of like a tile-based setup.
Yeah.
You can't have two things occupying the same space.
Right.
And multiple floors.
I wonder
and
if they'll
stuff don't
have
work that
like
well.
tiny spaces that are kind of like what we see in a lot of anime where people live in the single dwelling, because their space savings always seem to be, we have this little table we pull out and then we put the table to the side so that you can bring out your futon. And in a Western context, we have things like the Murphy bed and like things that just hide, but you're not constantly bringing out yourself, really.
Yeah, I don't think, I may be wrong, like The Sims has changed a lot over the years, but I believe The Sims don't actually have the ability to like move furniture around in their house. I think they're reliant on you as
placing it.
God Emperor of their lives to place things. I don't think they can move things around themselves.
Which is weird, because then that means that it's like, oh, well, I have, because the whole idea with a Murphy bed is it's like, I sleep in that bed, then I lift it up and put it away when I'm done sleeping. So this is
furniture then they're going to interact with in a specific way.
Yeah. And now I have space in the room to actually do stuff like sit at my desk and like, or do whatever. But then when it's like, it's the end of it's like nighttime, it's time to go to bed. It's like, I have to put the chair away under the desk, and I have to like maybe push another chair to the side or something. Then I can pull my bed out and I can sleep in my bed. And I'm like, are the Sims actually going to do stuff like that? Or are they just going to leave their bed down the entire time and like, F it. I don't care if it's in the way.
I'm curious now.
Now I just kind of want like a, we played on stream a couple times for various reasons, like, the like house renovation sim games or whatever. Now I just kind of want a game where you just like you have to design a house with like really tight specifications, and you have all sorts of different like weird convertible things that you have. It's like, okay, you designed your house and it's whatever 50 square feet, but nobody can you messed up because nobody can open the fridge because it bumps against the thing, so you have to rearrange stuff. That would be a neat game.
Definitely a puzzle game.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's The Sims Tiny Living, which is coming out on PC on January 21st and PS4, Xbox on February 4th.
Also,
interesting.
I just realized, are these official Murphy beds?
Yeah, because Murphy bed is actually
It's
a brand name.
It's like Xerox and Kleenex.
Oh.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's a
there's
thing we
been
found
some
out
brand
recently.
erosion, so...
I guess that otherwise
I
it's
don't
just
know
like
what they call them if they're not
it's just
little
hiding
storage
beds.
Yeah, storage beds, convertible beds.
Folding beds.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hideaways is a good name if they don't.
The coolest kind of hideaway bed are the ones that don't fold down, but like retract. Like
Yeah.
there's ones that like
Oh,
bend
yeah, yeah.
up.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Like
those
a
are more.
garage door.
Yeah, I don't know if those are more. They're probably less efficient, but they look cooler. Anyway, I think that's it. All I had in terms of actual like news
All right.
to talk
so,
about.
best news of the year: Fallout 76 has pets.
Adoptable pets.
Through
It's-
user
They've had pets before. It's the fact that users that players have themselves come together to develop an adoption agency to ensure that not only other people can get pets, but those pets are being delivered to a good home,
Yeah.
because they're very important that you send your pets to a good home.
It's nice to know a game that so many people have so many different feelings about can have some good stuff come out of it,
Yeah.
even if that's the users making that happen and not the company.
Did I see somebody was talking about one of the other things that they added that they talked about today in the Pokemon thing was that you can like pet your Pokemon and stuff?
No, that's a thing people would like because that's in Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, but it is
Not
in this one. You can play with them in the camp.
Oh, okay.
You can throw like a little ball, you can wave a little stick at them, you can make them eat curry, which is kind of funny. Curry's the only food that exists.
Don't
anymore.
feed curry to your pets.
They look very excited about it. They make the curry because when the curry comes out, there's a plate for you and a plate for your Pokemon, and the amount of curry that shows up on the plate is dependent on the size of your Pokemon that you're feeding.
Jesus.
So if you have like a really tiny Pokemon, they get like a really tiny thing of curry, and if you have a larger one, it gets larger.
Does like a whale? Was it the whale one? Does that just like eat you out of house and home?
I don't know. I'm honestly very not far into the game. I just got one badge the other day.
I hope it's like
I'm busy.
it's just your plate, but it's scaled up about 300 times. And it's just, how do we even make that much curry? Where did all those sausages come from? Where are the rest of my Pokemon?
Yeah, probably don't think about that too hard.
Yeah, don't think about where all your Pokemon are at.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this is the first time you've actually been able to feed Pokemon, right? Like previously,
Well, you can-
Pokemon didn't actually eat.
Pogo, you can give them berries.
That's kind of
The berries are like upgrades, though. They're not. They're like like status enhancements.
But do
right?
they eat them?
Yeah,
no,
it's
so, so
If I eat it, it's food.
So in Pogo, you can throw berries at Pokemon you try to catch. You can feed berries to Pokemon at gyms to get their HP back up. And then recently they've made it so that if you give them enough berries, they'll walk around on the map with you if it's your partner Pokemon.
Yes, but
Okay.
but you're saying like you're it sounds like what you're saying is that you give them these berries and they're like, yes, yes, Razzleberry. I will put that in my little Pokemon satchel. I'll hide that in my little Pokemon pouch under my leg.
They eat them in front of you.
They do eat them, so they're food.
You if in the because I don't play Pogo that often, but I did open it up to see it. When you throw the berries at them, if you don't throw it so that they can grab it to eat it, they just look at it like, what is that?
And
Why
you're
is that
like,
mess
like,
there?
but it's food.
So they're not like really active in getting it.
No, I mean, why would they be? They don't have to hunt for their stuff. You're supposed to feed them. You took them out of the wild and put them in a ball. The least you could do is feed them properly.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
They're yours now.
Take care of your pets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's welcome a couple more subs. Specifically, Apple Shy Jedi for 30 months. Thank you very much.
Denitar for 18 months. So maybe number 2. I can only hope it grows up to be like both these lovely hosts.
Bahamut Wise for 28 months. Welcome back.
Stoughton for 34 months.
Sauce Master 5,000 for 11 months.
MSU Iced Zed subscribed for 33 months. Sorry, I tried to say it in a different way and it weirded me out.
Smitch for a subscription thanks to the Maricat.
Gat Filler cheering with 500 bits, and given it's been a full year, away a little something for that missing time. Thank you, Gat Filler.
Mackie Machine for 10 months. Hey, welcome back.
Gat Filler filling that gap.
And I wanted to mention that if you look at the schedule, you may notice that CheckPoint next week is at noon instead of at 1 o'clock. And in fact, that is the new time for CheckPoint. CheckPoint, going forward, until such time as we decide otherwise,
Yes.
is going to be at noon instead of 1 o'clock.
But it goes to 1:30 now.
Yes, because we found that despite the fact that CheckPoint is always on time, and we always record our stories perfectly the first take.
Yep.
Sometimes, through no fault of our own, we end up running out of time when we're doing this part.
It takes a long time for us to read our stories.
Yeah, the post story pieces sometimes take a lot of time. And, we want to talk to you guys about different things and talk about the news and that kind of stuff. And sometimes we're kind of rushed and we don't want to keep bumping into LRMTG. So instead, we're going to start an hour early, and we're going to just assume that the show is going to be an hour and a half instead of instead of just the hour. So that way, we're going to have extra time to talk after the show. So remember, it is going to be at noon next week and week after.
We are confident that we will be able to have our stories written in time to make this happen the way it's supposed to
I
happen.
don't know. They're talking about the very obvious lies.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I just want to get that out there because people always ask us like, well, they moved it because they said they were always late and now they're
It's
still
true.
late and stuff like that. It's like I just want to say like, we have devised a new interesting method in which we are able to get our stories written, and so that is the way we will be writing our stories.
Yeah. It's not a human AI like that WB thing that they signed on for
Did you hear Warner Brothers is going to be using AI to make movies now?
to figure out who should be the actors in their movies. In some of them.
To figure out who should be the actors.
Based
Just to
on
figure out
what
what movies
actors-
they should make, what actors do well in what territories, and then how they should market those films based on all these different things. Basically, putting all this into a machine and then saying, "Here, machine, tell us whether or not we should actually make this film."
Yeah.
And
I mean,
are those actors the best actors for this
To
film?
be honest, I'm surprised they weren't. Very I'm sure Netflix is Netflix is basically doing that.
Yeah.
They've got tons and tons of data that they're running through their algorithms to make it to know what things. This is just going one step further and having the computer actually tell you rather than analyzing the data yourself.
Yeah,
So,
it's going to be fascinating because they're going to make so many derivative films, because an AI can only make decisions based on the things that's already been taught. So it's like, unless you can tell them,
Hope you're not a new actor.
yeah, that's the thing. Unless you're like, oh, this film did really well because nobody's ever heard of the actors that are in it, and the AI decides that, it's always going to be like, oh, well, this person. On the other hand, because like this person's been really good, and I was like, that's going to be bad. Except that, what if it's like, oh, Julia Roberts does really well in these 10 states around Christmas time, so put her in the new action film. And it's like, or put her in this new romantic comedy or whatever. It's like, Julia Roberts is like 50 years old. Don't we need to cast a 20-year-old actress against this 50-year-old man? Like, that's how it's supposed to work, right? And it's like, no, why don't you give people who have been around for a long time realistic roles?
yeah.
That could work.
I feel like this isn't actually that big a change from what the current
Probably
state
not.
of
No.
data analytics gives you from people like Netflix and Amazon and things. Like they know what kinds of shows. There's people analyzing what kinds of shows, and they're probably analyzing it using computer stuff. So this is just sort of taking
Yeah.
it to the next step. Presumably, it's not like this system is itself going to be hiring and
Yeah.
doing stuff. It is another input source into the process.
Yeah. It's just a weird thing to read about.
Yeah.
Really.
The idea that, well, and the idea that they're sort of like putting that forward as like they're actually like talking about it as if this is like going to be a big innovation to improve things, which is weird because companies usually try to be a little more circumspect about that kind of stuff.
Kind of shut this shit up.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll see how we'll see. I would suspect it's not going to change too much, but
I have a call I have to be on.
All right, go.
But anyway, if you actually you can doop.
Yeah, let's see what's up this week.
Up next, Tinker Tailor Solder Fry. Because if you notice, there's LRMTG not happening this afternoon. It's possible there might be some little bonus thing, but we're doing prep for the pre-release. So no LRMPG today, but Tigger Taylor Solder Fry is on tonight.
Yeah.
Where Ian is going to be disassembling hard drives and eating their gooey innards. I don't know what you do.
I think he's trying to get the magnets out or something. I don't really
I
know.
assume it's basically like, how, like, if you make a jack-o'-lantern, you hollow out the pumpkin and then you can, like, toast the pumpkin seeds.
Ah, yes.
It's basically the same thing.
I'll tell you, disassembling something is a lot easier than trying to put it back together.
It's
so
true.
As long as that description does not say he's going to reassemble hard drives,
It's true.
he's
You
probably
can't.
okay.
I feel like it's hard to fail at disassembling something. You can disassemble it in such a way that it can't be put back together.
I think it depends. Yeah, I think it depends if your goal is to disassemble it in a way in which case some of those parts are still usable. But yeah.
If the objective is just to get a hard drive into more than one part, as in like take it apart.
Yeah, you can do that with a hammer.
Yeah.
You really want.
Disassembling in a way that it can be put back together again, that's a whole other thing, and I'm pretty sure that's not the plan today.
No, probably not. It's probably just to disassemble. But,
And then tomorrow, as previously mentioned, it's the Theros Beyond Death PPR. That's right. The latest set of Magic. We are going to be playing it here in the office before anybody else outside of Wizards of the Coast has played it. Very exciting. And the set looks super spicy. So it's going to be a super fun event starting at 11 a.m. Pacific time and going probably late. Well, I don't know how late. We'll see how it goes.
It will go as long as it needs to go because that's what happens with the PPR events.
And we have no idea how whether the format plays slow or fast.
And
that's part of
given
what we're
that
going to be figuring out.
I'm not a big Magic player. My biggest hope is that there are no technical difficulties, so my job is easy.
Yay!
Yeah. Also, so your job is easy because I never wish hardship upon you ever.
Thank you.
I want you to have an easy day. They're long.
And then on Saturday, it's Adam's Game House. Going to be playing the Persona 5. And afterwards, it's going to be Rhythm Cafe on Sunday. If you notice, there's no...
yeah, Ian finally finished.
There's no Play It Forward in there. Because
Ian finally finished Shenmue 3.
Ian finished Shenmue 3. But it's going to be Rhythm Cafe, where Ian and Heather are going to be playing Neon FM.
That's the name of the game. I don't know anything about it.
I would guess it might be brightly colored, based on the name.
Yeah, and maybe tuned to the FM radio. Hopefully it's a bit more of a rhythm game than the last one that we pulled that we were like, this one's probably a rhythm game. We'll find out.
So it might not even be a rhythm game.
So we've been pulling from the suggestion list, and we may not have thoroughly gone through it as well as much as we should have.
Alrighty. Well, on Monday, it is going to be a new Dice Friends. It's a special 3-episode series using a system called Over the Edge, which I don't think any of us have tried before. But it's something that Dale has some experience with, and that he thinks might be quite good for streaming. So it should be super fun.
We have a campaign name there?
Yeah, it's called Spring Break! So, who knows what that means?
Well, I mean, it's nice to go into a season that is accurate.
Yeah, as we know.
We're not quite spring yet.
Yeah, January, well-known spring break time.
Gotta get that spring break special out.
Spring break!
Before everybody else does.
Jump into the lake and just skate across it because it's frozen.
Yeah, that should be fun. That's a 3-session.
So that's 3 sessions, and then we'll be jumping on to a different thing. But hopefully that will be super fun. And then on Tuesday, back to the regular schedule with Mine O'Clock.
Well, the new regular schedule, because mine o'clock
that's
is
true.
moving to 10.
The 10 o'clock, Mine O'Clock, which makes me sad that the name doesn't, the rhyme thing doesn't work
You mean
anymore.
the pun's not there anymore?
Yeah,
but
on the plus side,
maybe James will be on time.
maybe James will be on time and doesn't have to get up so early. Yes, Men O'Clock.
I guess.
Sort of works, except it now doesn't actually have anything about Mine O'Clock or about Minecraft.
Like if anything else, it's just saying, oh, it's time for Minecraft.
Yeah.
It's not as punny, but it's still there.
Talking Simulator, myself and Cameron, Corey is out of town at going to the PAX East. PAX.
No.
PAX.
She's just out of town.
She's just out of town. Right. But
I know it's like PAX season.
Yeah,
but
it's like
not everyone who's
there's a lot of
out
PAXs
town
happening.
is going to PAX. It's just some are out of town.
But yeah, on Talking Sim, myself and Cameron are going to be playing a game called The Manhole, which is the game that Cyan made before they made Myst. And so it should be super fun. And very, very interesting to explore. It's a game that was very that I played very, very sort of early on, and it's a game that I would consider to be sort of maybe I don't know about the first, but certainly a proto walking simulator kind of game.
Okay.
So just so you know, just as a warning, there's going to be a lot of it's sort of a exploration thing.
Are you playing the remastered version, or are you emulating the original?
I'm hoping to actually look at both.
Oh, okay.
Because I was super excited about the remastered as a small preview of the thing. I was super excited about the remastered one, and then I played a little bit of it, and I was kind of bummed out. I was kind of disappointed in it. Just because it's different than I remember. Because I played it on my Mac Plus in black and white. Original version. And so the game is short enough that I think we're going to be able to look at both versions of it and maybe compare and contrast, what you maybe sometimes, what you gain in cool special effects and better graphics and stuff, you kind of lose some of the quirkiness of it. So anyway, you can check that out. That'll be on Tuesday
at 1:30.
At 1:30, the new time there.
Yep.
Instead of 2 o'clock.
So like some of the new scheduled times, like for instance, 9 o'clock moving up is more because that's just practical. CheckPoint moving back and like Talking Sim moving back a little bit is more so that we can stop having streams bumping up against each other because stuff happens in video games sometimes and you can't get it to stop. And
yeah, so that's why instead of things bumping up against each other, now on Tuesday there's just half an hour between each stream, so that gives time for people to set up, install the game for whatever they're doing and things. So hopefully that'll work out nicely. And yeah, and then of course it's going to be Daymare 1988, which is apparently
is he still playing that?
It's apparently they played it last week, and apparently it's garbage, but it is hot garbage.
I believe Ben called it the worst video game he's ever played on his Twitter.
But apparently it's bad in a fun way, and so they're enjoying. They have been greatly enjoying themselves.
Okay, good.
So yeah, that should be fun. So lots of fun stuff coming up in the next little while. I hope you it would be good to say. Speaking of bad games, wait, no, that's not speaking of bad games. Oops.
They're doing
a Magic Arena special event for the Beyond Death streamer event.
Yeah.
But also after that is Watch and Play. That was
Watch
speaking
and
of
Play
bad games.
is still happening.
Yeah, Watch and Play is still happening on Wednesday, and Wednesday night is AFK, where they're going to be playing The Captain is Dead.
Oh right, I should look up how that plays.
Because Heather's going to be there.
Yeah, I think I'm on that one. Got work to do.
So, lots of cool stuff coming up. Check out the schedule at loadingreadyrun.com/live to see everything that's happening, and make sure you pay attention to those small schedule changes in the next in the next week. So those changes are also going into effect next week, and theoretically that's sort of the new setup for the streams in 2020. There may be other changes coming out, but at the moment, those are the only changes.
Realistically, we could change anything whenever we wanted.
That's true.
But these are definitely the changes that are happening next week.
Yes. So thanks for everybody for watching, and we will see all y'all later.